I'm Daniel.
I'm Jay-Z.
And this is Just My DIY.
Yes, it is. And today we're going to bring you a video showing you how to do a raised stencil on furniture. Now, this is a part of the larger restoration project that we did on my childhood dresser, and we'll link that full video for you in one of these corners. But for right now, we wanted to split this out because we know that there's probably some people who only want to see how to do a raised stencil. If you're one of those people, this video is for you.
That about covers it.
Let's get started. You moved.
So we had already uploaded our graphic into Design Space, and the biggest thing is just to adjust the measurements to make sure that it is the size you want for your stencil. Then click Make It. Once it sends it to the mat, you'll have a notification on ours that it was a little bit longer than the 12-inch mat, which is totally fine. We're working on a 24-inch mat. And then we just adjust the placement of the graphic on the mat. That's to give us extra border around it when it cuts. To select the material, we're going to go into Browse All Materials and then search for Stencil. We're going to select Stencil Vinyl down here because we'll be using Oracal 813 Stencil Vinyl. So once that's all set up, we go to our mat. We're using a standard grip mat, so a green mat for all of us in the Cricut world, and then laying this down flat. I will say the Oracal that I got came in a really tight roll, so to get it to lay out flat and to have no bubbles was a little challenging. Get it loaded in the machine, and then once it's blinking, click Go. Obviously, we're going to jump ahead a little bit and not show the full cut process, but once it comes out, we're going to weed on the mat. And you do see that another bubble showed up on this vinyl. Again, it was just having a really hard time sticking to its backing, so scraped as much of that out as I could. Luckily, that wasn't anywhere near the design, so went straight into the weeding process, and it really did weed nicely. Now we can see the design. To get this off the mat, I used the scraper and ran that underneath it. I did not want to try to pull this up how I would normally remove vinyl from a mat because I was really afraid of that front vinyl removing itself from the backing even more. Then go down to the cutting mat to trim out what we don't need because we do want this to fit right in the middle of the door.
So we're trying to center it on the plane in which it is going to rest on. It might not be true center to the door, but it's true center to the middle part of the design of the door. And we're going to try and make sure it's also vertical as, well, it's a little bit of an abstract design, so vertical is interpretive, but if you have something that's much more symmetrical, you can create better assurances about these things. Roll the backing off of it so that you do not have to worry about tearing your stenciling pattern. And in this case, because we weren't happy with where it was placed, we just lift it all up again anyways.
But it's important not to really put it down into your shirts where you want it.
So it's little finger pats until you're like, it's right. And then you're like, cream it. Cream it with the backing. You put the backing down and then you start creaming it.
I don't know why I'm saying creaming, but we're scraping it on.
You do want to seal off any holes inside of your stenciling mat, so, you know, obviously it doesn't bleed through things you don't want to bleed through.
Yeah, there were a couple of tears in this vinyl. I'm not sure where they came from, but definitely a good idea to cover those up like we're doing here with painter's tape. Now we're using Mod Podge matte to paint over the stencil. This is to seal the stencil, and you'll see we're using just a regular old foam brush, dipping it right in and covering the stencil with the Mod Podge and making sure it's every place.
We might have been doing something out of order here as we're applying a paste-like thing to the stencil, but you'll see in a moment, maybe we're going to put a rim of tape around the stencil to protect the rest of the door from someone's overpainting skills. Have you seen her clothes?
Yeah, I will admit I got a little close on the edge there.
So we use painter's tape to tape the edges and give us a barrier of mistake.
Barrier of mistake. Yeah, I'm a little messy when I paint. So we're using glossy latex paint and a coarse texture, and we're going to mix those together in a cup until it's the consistency we want, which was really thick. Like, we want this to protrude or be proud of the surface quite a bit, so went for a really thick paste.
We're going to apply it in a stabby-like motion. This is to help make sure that the grit is evenly distributed. And of course, we're being a bit heavy on it as well, as we just want it to come out really, really
thick
and proud.
Yes. And the stabbing motion going straight up and down is really to ensure that you're not painting underneath the stencil. Like, we're just trying to glop this on basically, and then you'll see we smooth it out a bit.
And this is us smoothing it out a bit. Multi-directional, just, be consistent, finish your pattern at the stroke at which you want to see texturized on your pattern forever.
Yeah, that's a great point, Daniel. Like, whatever stroke pattern you have on this, when you get through smoothing it out, that's the pattern that you're going to have on your stencil. So you can see here we ended up going with a vertical pattern.
And before it dries, we're going to peel it up in a gentle yet as vertical from the board as possible, and methodically lift it, and magically your stencil design will appear.
Yep.
Yep.
There we go. Now we just let it dry. And there you go. This is it on the finished dresser. We like that you can see it when you're up close, but when you pull further away, it kind of disappears.
See, it's super easy to do a raised stencil on furniture, and we hope you learned a lot from this video. The tone-on-tone option was really fun for us because we're able to add a coastal flair without being in your face.
So if you liked what you saw, click on the button that says you did. And of course, subscribe, ring the bell, and check out the very few things that we needed to use to do this down below.
And if you're not watching this on our website, head over to justmydiy.com for more. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. You're still not Stevie!